What's up, friend? Welcome back to my channel. Y'all, this one's a doozy. I have a feeling this is gonna be a long one. It's gonna be an emotional one. I'm a little scared, honestly. I'm a little scared. Today, we are talking about shadow work. I'm gonna tell you what your shadow is, how to acknowledge and use your shadow to your benefit. I'm gonna give you a specific example of an aspect of my shadow that I was forced to confront, and it was a very scary time. And we're just gonna get into everything you need to know to confront your shadow and live your best life. And by doing this, you will explode your manifestations. You will feel so much more clear on who you are. You will be able to be your authentic self. It is a beautiful, beautiful personal development that I encourage everyone to undertake, but it is a lot. It gets dark. It gets dark, but we're gonna get into it. As per usual, I will have the timestamps in the description so you can skip around if you want to. We don't gatekeep here, we make it easy. Watch at your own pace. Okay, so first I think we need to get clear on what your shadow is. What the hell is a shadow? What am I working on? What's going on here? Your shadow, as the name would suggest, is your darker side. This is where your negative emotions live. I'm talking anger, sadness, jealousy, shame, fear. All of these things are a part of your shadow. And these are aspects of yourself that you might keep on the low. You might not want to show these to many people. You might not even want to show these to yourself, which is the main thing that we're confronting today. These are all parts of yourself that you shove into that one kitchen junk drawer, and you just put them in there and you close it and you walk away and you pretend like nothing happened. But no matter how many parts of yourself you try to shove away in that junk drawer, they're still a part of you. They still exist. And in order to be your best authentic self and to really step into your power, you have to acknowledge their existence. So how is the shadow developed? Where do these negative emotions come from? I wasn't born scared, okay? I came out ready to go. I came out with no shame. I popped out with no shame, no depression, no anger, no jealousy. I was just vibing as a baby, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure you were too. This is getting weird. Okay, this is getting really weird. For the most part, your shadow is a result of the environment that you grew up in. So like as a kid, if you ever tried to go up to your parent and you're sad and crying and you're trying to express your emotions and they tell you, stop crying or I'm gonna give you something to cry about. Congratulations, they just gave you an aspect of your shadow. Or if you were that kid in class who would talk and try to show your personality or participate in the discussion, and your teacher would shut you down and embarrass you and be like, sit down, you're becoming a distraction, you're doing too much. Yeah, that teacher gave you an aspect of your shadow. After you were reprimanded or had these experiences, you gradually learned that you needed to suppress these feelings to survive. As a child, you learned very quickly, I need to shove these feelings down, shove these actions down that cause me to get in trouble, that cause me to rock the boat, and that make life harder for me. So we know how your shadow developed. How does it affect your life now? The main way that I see people's shadows affecting their life is through projection. Everything in life is just a reflection of your own perception of things. And when we're talking about relationships with other people, how you see them can remind you of what's in your shadow and piss you off. And that can negatively impact your relationship with yourself, but it can also negatively impact your relationship with others. Let's say that I have a fear of being my authentic self in my shadow, and I see someone who is living out loud, being themselves, wearing what they want, doing their hair the way they want to do it, not giving a single f what anyone thinks. Subconsciously, I'm gonna see that and I'm gonna be annoyed by that because it reminds me that I'm afraid to do that. It forces you to come to terms with a part of yourself that you don't like and that you've been trying to suppress. It opens the junk drawer, and we want to keep that closed for as long as possible. Along those lines, it also makes you defensive. When you feel like you're being called out on something that's in your shadow, you're gonna feel the need to go overboard in defending yourself because this person is bringing attention to the parts of yourself that you're trying to suppress. And in fact, if we're going back to the childhood, when people call you out on these things, sometimes it can remind you of when your teacher called you out, or when your mom called you out, or when your friend called you out on the playground. And it just brings up those old feelings that you do not want to feel, and you get defensive. I hope that the wheels are turning. I hope you're thinking of all the times that you've ever felt annoyed by someone or felt triggered and defensive, because that is where it starts. So what is shadow work? Shadow work is acknowledging and coming to terms with the aspects of your shadow that have been holding you back so that you can live more clearly and more freely and more authentically. But if the shadow is really dark, why the hell would we ever want to do this? I don't care about living freely, okay? I don't want to acknowledge that monster, okay? I get that feeling. In fact, I have that feeling very often, to be honest. But acknowledging your shadow matures you psychologically. You can handle issues better, you know yourself more, and if you know yourself, you will be able to better understand the world around you. Like I said, everything's about perception. And if your perception is clear, you're gonna be able to see things about yourself, about your relationships, about the people around you, about the whole entire world, about your entire reality so much clearer, more clearly. I was an English major, okay? And the more connected you are to yourself, the more your manifestations start to pop off because you're in tune with your energy and the energy of the world around you. And that energetic connection is what you need to manifest and to attract positive things. It also will obviously improve your relationship with others because you're gonna stop being so triggered and projecting and getting defensive and feeling called out and being annoyed by everyone that you come in contact with who reminds you of your shadow. And I also wanna say that it is totally worth it to do the shadow work because there are positive aspects of yourself that are hiding in your shadow too. There are positive aspects in there that are just waiting for you to acknowledge them, waiting to be released. They've been waiting for 28 years now to get out and let themselves be known. An example of this is if you were the kid who was always told that you were doing too much. You're too loud, you're too strong, you're too bossy, right? You might suppress that confidence and sense of self because you're like, oh no, I'm coming across as bossy. People think I'm bossy. That's a bad thing. I don't like that. I don't like that. Put it in the shadow. You've repressed the part of yourself that's confident. You've repressed the part of yourself that's a boss. She's hiding in your shadow. We gotta let her out. So we know what a shadow is. We know why we want to do the work. What is the work? It's a great question, honestly. The first thing that I definitely want to acknowledge is therapy. I'm very pro therapy. I specifically love cognitive behavioral therapy. It really helps you come in contact with your shadow and it helps you kind of pinpoint those triggers. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps you notice and understand distorted thought patterns. It focuses on learning to recognize when your thought patterns are negative or when they're holding you back and then reroute in a way that can move you forward. And a lot of times this requires acknowledging your shadow. It requires acknowledging those things that you're hiding in there. But of course, therapy is not accessible. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I haven't gone to therapy since I was in college and it was free. I tried doing BetterHelp once and my therapist ghosted me after the first session. He ghosted me. He was like, oh no. I totally understand that therapy isn't accessible and honestly, it's just not for everyone. Not everyone's gonna be into sharing this stuff with other people. Everybody's different. So let's talk about how you can do this on your own too. The first thing that you need to do is get in tune with your emotions and your triggers. Notice those triggers, notice those projections, notice when you find yourself getting annoyed with someone for existing, honestly. Find your bitch eating crackers and notice that annoyance. If you know, you know. If you're on Reddit, you know about the bitch eating crackers. That bitch eating crackers is honestly the best way to get in touch with your shadow. I think that if there's one person in particular that you absolutely cannot stand, it can be someone in real life, it can be a family member, it can be a celebrity, it can be someone that you follow online. Whoever is like your arch nemesis, who you just cannot stand, start there. Ask yourself why you don't like them. Why is it so difficult to tolerate them? And more importantly, what parts of yourself does this person bring out? Are there any traits that they have that you also have? Another helpful thing is looking at patterns in your life. Are you someone who often finds yourself in friendships with people who make you feel bad about yourself? Look at your romantic relationships. Do you end up with toxic ass people? What about your jobs? Do you find yourself always being in jobs that are super stressful, pushing you to the limit, making you feel stupid, making you feel incapable? Sometimes we lock ourselves into these negative patterns because our shadow is mirroring itself into our reality. And it's like, hello, I'm here. I'm begging to be seen. I keep making all this bad shit happen over and over again so that you notice the pattern and the cycle and that you can cut it off. Until you acknowledge your shadow, those negative patterns they just tend to repeat over and over again. So notice if those already exist. Also, go back to your childhood. Find those moments. Find those times when your shadow first became apparent, when you were reprimanded, or held back from being yourself, or told things that gave you a negative view of who you are. This is the hard part. Doesn't feel great to look back on those memories. But once you identify those annoyances, those triggers, those negative emotions, congratulations, you have discovered your shadow. And now it's time to confront them. For me, I love journaling, I love meditating. I think journaling is my favorite. I love writing, and I find it just the easiest to write everything out. So if you're someone who journals, I highly recommend doing that. I have literally written letters to my shadow, acknowledging her, giving her love, compassion, forgiveness, removing the shame. Shame is a big one, right? Because obviously you feel shame about these emotions, about these aspects of your personality, about these traits that you've been suppressing your entire life. Write a letter acknowledging and removing that shame. Make peace with her. Repair those fractures that caused you to hide her away in the junk drawer. Hell, if you like talking to yourself, which I clearly like doing as well, look at yourself in the mirror and talk to your shadow. Affirm your shadow. Say out loud, I acknowledge my fear. I acknowledge my distrust. I acknowledge my shame. I acknowledge my darkness. I want to talk about a specific example of an aspect of my shadow that I confronted because it has completely changed my life. And I actually just made a video all about this, and it is imposter syndrome. For me, as a kid, I was always told that I was the smartest kid ever. I was a genius. I always got straight A's. I knew everything. I was destined to be something. I was gifted, okay? I was a gifted kid. And number one, it made me terrified to fail. I was afraid of getting a B in a class because if I got a B, then I wouldn't be loved for being smart anymore. I was afraid of trying new things and not immediately being good at them because I was like, if I'm not good at this, then the veil's gonna be lifted and people are gonna know that I'm not naturally good at everything. And it also made me feel like I was never really trying hard enough to like deserve greatness. It was like at any given moment, my parents or my manager at work or the admissions office at my college would be like, oh wait, she's actually not smart. She's actually pretty dumb. She's a fake. She's not a genius like she said she was. We're cutting her off. You're done. You're done. I had to acknowledge my imposter syndrome and remove that sense of shame and guilt and just that feeling of not deserving good things. And y'all, once I did that, I got signed to a commercial and modeling agency and started pursuing that, which is something that I had always been afraid of because I was just convinced that I wouldn't be good at it right away and that it wasn't worth pursuing for that reason, which by the way, I wasn't good at it right away. I still am not great at it. But I didn't feel capable. And I did it anyway because it was fun and I enjoy it and it pushes me to the limits of my anxiety. I started this YouTube channel because I stopped being afraid of A, no one seeing my videos, but B, people seeing them and disagreeing with me or thinking that I wasn't smart or calling me out and saying that I don't know what I'm talking about. Once I acknowledged and accepted my imposter syndrome, I unabashedly jumped into my authentic self. And I started doing that a few years ago would seem crazy. I would think it was crazy because I was like, you're not gonna succeed at that. And even if you do, people are gonna know, they're gonna find out eventually that you're not smart and that you're not good at it. So just don't even bother. Can you imagine what I would have missed out on in life if I had kept that thought pattern? I feel free as hell now. And honestly, this is what I want for you. I want you to feel free. I want you to feel like you can be yourself. I want you to acknowledge every aspect of who you are so that you can become clearer on the world around you and your connection to it and your energy and how to harness that energy to get what you want. And that is the amazing part of shadow work. This was a long one. Thank you for hanging in there. I hope this helped you. I hope this inspired you to just go on this journey of learning more about yourself, getting in touch with your emotions, and improving your relationship with yourself and your relationship with other people, because that's what shadow work is so amazing at doing. It improves your perception, it improves your relationships, and you can just dive into things feeling like yourself. It's an amazing thing. If you are not subscribed already, please do. I would love it. I love doing these videos, as I say in every single one of them. I'm about to do 10 million more, so just join the party and subscribe. Comment down below if you have any thoughts, questions, if you disagree. I honestly love having discussions with you guys in the comments. It is so much fun and I love hearing your perspective. So definitely drop it down below and I will see you in next week's video. Bye!